Alrighty, so we just started time, and he has 90 minutes to get this session done and check all of his bases and get as far as he can, or go as far as he thinks he should go. Immediately, I'm looking at the introduction to partnership. How is he entering round pen? What is he doing to build a relationship with his horse? Personally, I really like when the guys going quiet. I think a quiet presence when you walk in really allows the horse to show their true colors right away of how they interact with that quiet energy. Because if you have to be loud to get their focus, that tells you it might be a little bit more of a dull horse or a distracted type. I really like how right away she's trying to face up to him and engage with him. I think the quiet partnerships that start out like that, where they allow the horse to realize the handler is a non-threat. I really liked how he backed up there and she faced up. That was a really good use of his body. She seems a little noise sensitive, but I do really like that she's very aware of where his body is. Now, I want to note right there how him just picking up the halter changed the dynamic a little bit. She's a little more hesitant to looking at him, a little more hesitant to face up. Now I'm looking to see how he goes about catching running. Quiet. I really like how smooth and soft and quiet he's being so far. I think when you go in there a bit loud, sometimes you really remove the subtleties from the relationship. And it also just tells me as a judge that the only way you can get your horse to really engage with you is being loud. And that doesn't mean to say the horse can't pay attention to the subtleties, but that does tell me that that's how you're going about communicating. And also you have nowhere to go from. If you're loud right away, you can't build your energy or your firmness if they're not giving you a desired reaction, or if they're being dull or whatever it might be. Just put Bracy on the halter. Not as soft as I'm hoping for, but I like how he went about that, went to softening right away. A little bit of a gotcha style here. Just really introducing that touch all over. Getting in for picking up the front foot, a little resistance, like how he stayed with it. I like how she's soft and she's not yanking her foot away. A little resistance there. Stays with it. Nice. I liked how he waited until she was soft to put it back. Now I would say for the introduction to partnership, I would have scored that pretty high. Because he came in there quiet. Oh, going for the next leg. That's good. I love that. I love how quiet she's being. I like the little head drop. There's very, very much of any resistance at all there. Good little look and chew. Anyways, going back to my point, I would have scored that introduction to partnership pretty high. He was quiet when in there. He was really soft with his body. He was really careful and attentive to what he was doing with his body when. And I think that made for a really smooth introduction to each other. Less resistance with this line was pretty soft. Liked that one. No critiques there. I think that was pretty smooth. And she's got a little bit of bracing on that hind. Let's see if she does more. Nice. Just adjusting her balance a little bit. Nice. A little locked in the microphone just coming out, but she seems a little like a sensitive type. Anyhow. Alrighty. I want to touch on right away the difficultness of this Colt coming in. She didn't seem like she seemed a little more on the sensitive side so far, but just from kind of what I'm getting at, what I'm my overall gathering of the picture, big picture here, seems a little sensitive, but nothing crazy. I'd say she's a very middle of the road Colt so far. Nothing that I would say is overly difficult as of right now. I mean, we're just at the tip of, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here with who she is, so I'm not gonna set my answer in stone about kind of where she is yet. I like how he stuck with it there, just to kind of give her a minute to settle in, relax into the brushing. It's a new sensation. A little bit of tension, nothing crazy. New feelings, so I'm happy that she's trying to think through it. She's staying fairly relaxed. Now, I'd like to note one thing throughout this. I like how he continually, when he's going to reset her, is moving the hips, unlocking her hips, getting her to kind of free up and step underneath herself. I also really like the brushing because it really allows the horse to understand that we're not here to hurt him. And some horses I get don't fully understand brushing, but if you take the time to really spend on the areas of them that they might enjoy, like up in the withers or in the mane, you can really start to build that relationship, that connection with the horse. And this also just lets me know where the horse's sensitive areas are. It's good for him as a handler to know what kind of her little ticklish spots are where might be a problem when it comes time for saddling. But also it allows her to feel sensation all over her body prior to going to introducing things like the saddle. Oh, pick up the feet again. Picking out the feet this time. She's really good control of how patient she is. How does she feel about sensation on her feet? And not just the pickup itself. Well, a little jumpy there with ropes going over her back. That's what I'm saying. I think she's a bit of a sensitive flighty type. Like some pressure. Little tension there. Picking up the right foot, rocking over. So right there. I like how he stuck with it and was able to bring it back to a controlled manner. This is what I'm saying when I'm just looking to see overall how relaxed is she through it. That just tells me she's not entirely comfortable with it yet. And also, just, I mean, she hasn't had her feet handled, so she lacks the balance to really figure out how to stand still and just give her foot in a soft manner. I would like to touch on kind of the haltering and catching for a minute that he did back. I really liked, even though I know it changed the dynamic a little bit when he brought the halter in. I do like how soft and calm she was and how patient she was, which they needed to really freak out when the halter went over her nose or when he was tying it or anything like that. So I really enjoyed that. This is looking pretty good so far. I also would like to note that I do like that he has his rope a bit shorter and tucked into his belt there as this kind of a safety feature, but also if she were to spook or go to kick, because he has it in her belt loop, she's not tied to him, so it would pull through and he would be injured or anything like that if something crazy would happen. But it does keep her head bent around, so if she goes to rip her foot away or anything crazy like that, if she's soft enough, she'll go into disengaging her hindquarters rather than swinging her hip towards him and kicking him. So I think that's very smart on his part. That would plays into the use of tools score. As far as handling picking up feet goes, I'm pretty happy with how that all went. A little bit of movement on the one side with the left hind, I believe it was. Nope, the right hind. But that would influence my score too much because I do like how he handled it. Now, I would like to note we're not looking for perfection and overall smoothness. Like, we're not looking for it to be perfect and the horse handles everything and stands like a pro horse. I'm more looking to see how are you interacting with the horse and how what you're doing to interact with the horse affecting the horse. How are they handling it? And then if there's any resistance, how are you handling the resistance? Okay, so now we have a whip. We have what looks to be a little bridge or mark. I have a little mark in the arena now. Or in the round pin now. Okay, that's good. Did a little lunging exercise over. She made contact, he's forward in a retreat. Now he's using the rail and his whip to funnel her between. Get that first step up on her, or that second step up on there, getting her to stand on that mark. Give a treat, some pets. I like that. Giving her a minute to sit and soak in that. I really like how calm she was about going to that. She was a little anxious when he first sent her off in the lunge, but nothing crazy. I do like how willing and calm she is, just standing there on the mark. The resistance back, yeah. He's waiting on her, for her to soften that pressure. That's good. He's gonna go that better right back on. Oh, how does he handle that? A little backwards pressure. And release and treat some pets. See, this is what I really like, how relaxed she's willing to continue to chew, no tightness in the mouth. The eyes are blinking at a pretty soft, rapid speed. The ears are moving. She looks very comfortable there. He's asking her forward. I like how soft she came off that. Wasn't anxious when he started putting that pressure on. Oh, that's okay. I like how much calmer she is here. I really like how soft her jaw guard was. Just give him a little step there. Overshot it. He's helping her out a little bit. Now I would like to note, I do think treats can be a slippery slope with training. I have nothing against them. I do really think they're beneficial. I think it's just, you have to be very conscious of how you're using them, when you're using them. So she's starting to kind of dive in on there, so he used halter pressure and would push her over. See right there how she went to look for him for treats. Now it's not something I'm gonna get after him too much for, anything like that, but that's something as I'd go through the training, if he continues to use treats, is be careful that he's giving it more of a neutral position. So nobody is a cookie monster. But she's not nipping or anything like that. I like that he pushed her away a little bit and corrected her. I would have committed to that maybe a bit more to keep her nose away, but I get there's a delicate balance with the young sensitive ones that you don't want to scare them off. Love how she's softly trotting and not pulling on the lead rope. Here we're just sending over, and I think he's looking for her to correct herself and stop on the mark on her own. Yep. So he's just trying to send her around and get her to kind of realize that is her release point and that she should stop there on her own, and he goes to pass her over it and have her stop on it rather than just continue rolling her over the top of it. So this is our intro to obstacles. And I would say this is going pretty darn smoothly. She's taken to it pretty darn well. Seems confident. Could be a little softer, but the willingness to go on to the obstacle and try and participate with what he's asking is really good. So I'd be scoring this pretty high. Overall, the session's going pretty smoothly. Oh, but there's so much time left, so we'll see. So far, there's nothing I disagree with in the groundwork. The sensitivity there with the rope swinging. Stayed calm, acted like nothing was happening. It's good. I think that's another big thing with these colts. I want to see, like, when they do get all squirmy and stuff, how do you react? Do you panic? Or do you stay calm and just kind of work through it? Because that does play a huge role in how the colt comes down from whatever they're feeling. A little bit. An introduction to what that cinch pressure will feel like. Seeing how she reacts to the tightening of that. When she feels pressure around her gut, that she kind of tighten brace up right there. So I like that when she does kind of brace up, he kind of clucks at her and pushes her through a little bit. So it's all better. Staying very calm through it. I like how willing she is to move forward without being frantic. So now we're going to get back to where the relaxation should be. A little tightness and tension there. Got to curl up out of her. Push through it. I like how he's not having a big reaction to this. It's like a very controlled environment. I like how strategic he is throughout this. This is kind of like, as I'm thinking about the overall picture of how we're going throughout the session, does this look like you have a plan? Or does it kind of look sporadic where you're just kind of throwing crap at the wall and hoping something sticks? This looks like there's a method to the madness here, which is something I really appreciate. Because if you walk in and you don't really look like you have a program and you're just like, well, this seems right, and this seems right, and this seems right, but I don't really know, and you seem a little frantic and you're like, oh, well, no, I forgot that. That's going to play into the overall score because you don't really look prepared to me. You don't really give a plan. I like how this looks like there's a steady flow to this session as well, which I really appreciate. So we have an introduction to the saddle pad. And this is what And what he just did with the gut rope there and now the saddle pad, this is what I would consider to be saddle preparation. So he's letting her investigate it on her own. She's pawing it, sniffing. Like how willing she is to investigate it without having anxiety or avoidance of the object. This is something I would really like to know. I do like that he is allowing her to have her own time to investigate and be curious about it without just forcing it on her. These horses are naturally curious animals. So this gives her the ability to investigate on her own time without putting pressure to interact with the object. A little tension there when he tossed it on, when he's patting on it, but softened up to it being on there. She doesn't have tension about it being on her, just the noise and sensation of the patting and all that good stuff. A little bit of disengagement, a little bit of sending around. Now this is where we can see how the saddle preparation pays off for tossing it up there. And I guess we'll see, is he going to go right away into the cinching up and stuff? Because I do think there's some variation here I do think there's a distinct difference, let's say that, between tossing the saddle, there's prepping for the full saddling, if that makes sense. I mean, yes, you are saddling her with the saddle, but I think there's a little bit more to that, because I think you should also take into account the saddling process as the cinching up and all that stuff. So, well, yes, the first time he throws that saddle up there, it will be judged as saddling. It also could play into saddle prep too if he does it more than once. So, tension there, she stepped forward, but I like how she came back to it. Full embrace, nothing crazy, pulls it off. So see, that right there is saddling. Like, I'm not gonna deny that, but I would say that plays into the saddle prep. And when he goes to cinch her, right back to it. A little locked up in the hindquarters. Oh, there you go. I like how I softened her. Little tight. So right here I'm looking at her ears and her eyes and her nose. And I'm muzzling to see if there's any tension there. Still keep an eye on him. But you can tell by her ears being back and just kind of her overall demeanor. And she's paying attention to all the different sensations that are coming on to her right now. The noises, the feeling of it, the cinch coming across her belly, how tight it's getting, the overall pressure from the back to girth on the back cinch. You can tell there's some uncomfortableness there within her demeanor, but she is taking it in. She doesn't look like she's gonna blow up or anything crazy, but she is a little kind of cut and a little strung out there with her body. So this is where I'm really gonna like to see how this goes. Saddle preparation, I think you did a pretty good job with the saddle preparation. I think that there's no huge blow-ups. I'd say I know you can do all saddle preparation well, and sometimes they can be a bit tight and buck. That doesn't mean they're not gonna buck, but how does he handle the bucking? What are his first things he does when he saddles her? Backing her up, getting some air out of her lungs, letting her just feel that pressure and see if it's not going anywhere. Disengaging the hindquarters, a little sticky, she's not fully stepping underneath herself there, so it's picking up. Right there, she just won't turn around, so he's gonna wait on her to disengage the release. I like how she's on tracking right away with that right hip. So far, I have no overall complaints this session, and I'm like, this needs to be better. staying pretty even keel. Like I said before, I really like the good flow it's got to it. So pull the halter off, sending her around. She got a little tightness in those hips. Trot. Get loosening that trot. Get the canny. I liked that. Okay, I really liked how she faced up there right away. So right here, if she were to be super tight, not willing to go forward, that would definitely impact the score and stuff for forward motion. And just like its overall preparation of the saddling.
First break.
So it's called first break. Second on the round pen. So we can note right here that he did take his break. Also give me some good time to kind of watch her demeanor. How does she handle him stepping out of the round pen? Is she quiet? Is she anxious? Also give her some time to also investigate those feelings, even though there's not a handler in there. So how does she handle the pressure of the saddle still being there? What is she going to do in her downtime by herself? So we're just kind of going to go over things here for a minute. The introduction to partnership. I said I really enjoyed that. I don't have any critiques that I loved how quiet he was. I think it started with a great connection. It allowed him to start building that great connection point. Overall connection to the horse so far, I would say there's a pretty good relationship building there. She's really engaged with what he's doing. He's staying quiet, but is very he's making a lot of tactical decisions on what to do, very calculated decisions on how to interact with her, and I think that's paying off. She seems to be pretty quiet and willing. She had a little bit of anxiety and tension when he first walked into the ground, and when it came to kind of putting that pressure on a blender, she softened up so far. I do like that right now she's willing to look around and investigate her environment. I would like to see her walk off and kind of see what she thinks of that. Now, catching and haltering, I touched base on that I liked that. I know you're picking up the feet. My only note on that was when she hopped away the one time, but she didn't panic and freak out and start kicking. She softened up real well. And I did really like how he had his lead rope tucked into his belt there to help as like a kind of a safety measure. Use of tools so far, I have no complaints about that. Seems to be pretty accurate with how he's handling all of his tools. I haven't noticed any big errors so far that I was like, that was a bit sloppy on your part, so I'm really enjoying that. Timing and reward, I would say there could have been a little bit better timing in trying to cut off some forward energy into going out to the mark, but that also could have been just him allowing her to try to make the decision on its own. So nothing that I'm like going to get after him for, but that would be my only real big note. Saddle preparation was good. Saddling had a little tension when that went on, but he handled it well. Groundwork has been good. I'm excited to see how the join-up happens and the introduction of rider and mounting. I would say so far the ability to build confidence in the Colt. She's taken everything very calm, in a very calm manner. She seems pretty open to corrections and criticism. She doesn't seem to get too offended. It's a little flighty, but nothing crazy. Something easily managed. She's giving good forward motion. Nothing too frantic or too flighty when he gets that forward motion out of her, but also she isn't too sticky either. Softness and willingness overall so far. She has some moments of braciness and stuff like that that I would like to see him soften her up on, but nothing that I think needs attention to move forward. He's taking all of the appropriate measures to make sure she's soft enough and willing enough before he moves on to the next step. Just overall cool stuff. They're not going to be immediately soft, so that's my only note, but that's if I'm getting really, really nitpicky. And I'd say the most tension or lack of softness I see is in the back out, but that's nothing that is throwing me off. Like, you need to check your base of that before getting on or anything like that. Just little things. Horse welfare so far, no complaints. He's being very fair, very respectful of her. Touching back on toughness of the horse, I would like to note that, like, she isn't, I said she isn't a real difficult colt. What I mean by that is, yes, she is flighty, yes, she is the sensitive type, seems to be pretty sensitive to noise and pressure, but with that being said, she's the type of colt, in my opinion, that handled wrong, this could have been a disaster. And like, that is how any colt can be a disaster if not handled correctly. But there's some that you have to be a lot more calculated about your decisions with, because if you make a wrong step, they're not as forgiving, they're not as, they don't take a joke as well. And they will hold on to that, and they will take that and run with it for the rest of the session, and you can blow them up pretty easy. And she's the type of horse, in my opinion, you could blow her up very, very, very easily and very quickly with a few bad decisions and bad timing moves. So I would say I'm really pleased with how he's handling her, considering I think she is the bit more of the reactive type, and the type that could be a problem child if not managed appropriately. So far, no crashing into panels, so that's good. I'm excited to see how we go from here. Now we're just gonna kind of wait on, take the break. She's still staying loose with her knife, keeping her head on a swivel. Ears are still moving. She's taking in the dogs barking. She's taking in Isaac walking around outside the round pen. Overall, just a very attentive colt. Pretty quiet, relaxed. Has a nice, soft, relaxed leg there. Now, I know I said I'd like to see her walk around a little bit just to see if she had any tension, but the fact that she's resting her leg and is still looking around and being aware of her environment tells me she's not tense or anything like that, which I appreciate. Hands on up, we're going back in. Now right here I'm gonna see how does she react when getting back into that. Does she immediately run off? Does she snort? Head up, tightness. Okay, so we're going back for the trick bag. And grabbing the carriage whip. He's walking a little quiet, clock setter. Oh, I love that. She disengaged her hindquarters right away to face up with him. I really could appreciate that. Didn't fully commit to the draw in, but that's alright. Do love her initial reaction to him putting pressure on. Sending her around, making sure she's not holding any tension in that saddle. Or within her, not holding any tension within her body from the saddle and all the other pressure she's feeling. Staying nice and loose. Appreciate that. She's quiet in her trot, willing to move forward, not sticky, but not frantic. That's what I'm looking for. I love how her ear keeps looking in on Isaac. Pay attention to what she's doing. Pay attention to what he's doing with that. Oh, I love how when he lowered his energy there and stopped, she stopped and looked in at him. And she didn't stop immediately in her tracks up ahead. She was willing to walk up into him, and I appreciate that. So right there, I wish she would have stepped in front of herself and crossed over and turned into the round pen rather than turned in towards the center of the round pen versus turning out. I love how she came in and looked at him there. So right there, this is kind of what I'd start to consider is almost a join up, but she half committed to that one there and kind of veered off, not quite sure yet. And this is what I mean when I say she's the delicate type where I think it could go wrong very quickly if not managed appropriately, because she does have a little bit of that tension and fear around, not fear, but a little bit more tension around people. She's not quite the golden retriever type at all. So use that in a little pressure, make her job a little harder. This is where we can see a little more tension coming out and the pressure's coming out. I like that she looked in. So right there, she's considering the joint up, but then she gets a little bit overwhelmed. It's like, I can't. Goes and just leaves. So then he's pushing her away and saying, no, that's not the right answer. She's looking in. Just giving her a minute. I like that when he lowered himself, she lowered her energy. So as far as the joint up goes so far, this would be the highest scoring joint up I've seen. I would like to see her be more willing to come in. But with that being said, I would like to note that she is offering the face up, which I appreciate. She is offering to still give her attention. She's not panicking and refusing to even look in or lower her energy. Just not entirely sure she wants to commit to the full joint up. So he's going to give her a treat there. He kind of pulled her in to give her the idea of, hey, look into me. Commit to looking here. This is where you should be. Now, this is a clear sign to me that she's not quite sure of what to do with herself, and she's holding a bit more tension than before. Because before, when you go to give her a treat, she was much more willing to kind of take it right away. This time, she has a little bit of tension in her mouth, and she's locking her jaw a bit. So he just sent her back out. Was trying to get her to start really tapping into that parasympathetic nervous system to really start working through her situation. Now, I really like this. It's a great opportunity to see how does he work through her tension. How does he bring her back when she's a bit anxious? He's trying to send her out, get her to canter, loosen up, and just work a little harder. Because sometimes when they work a little harder, it makes the joint, finding the joint up a bit easier. There, no. So it's right here when she's thinking about knitting, and then she just goes, I'm not sure. Right there, he's trying to pull her in. She just get a little resistant. Now, she's still paying really close attention. That inside ear keeps flicking on, and she's still paying attention. She's just looking out a bit more than that. There. So right there. Now, I know she didn't stop to say something, but I do like that he got her to commit to turning in there and not getting stuck on the rail. And this is what I mean when I say, oh, there. That's what I'm looking for. So sometimes you do have to, if you come in, when I said when you, like when we were talking about when you first walking around in the introduction partnership, if he would have been loud right away with his body and made himself his presence very, very known. When he goes to add pressure like this, there wouldn't have been much pressure to add because he's already being loud. He allowed her to pay attention to the subtleties of his body, and now when he added pressure, it allowed for when he pulls off the pressure to be a bigger release. So she needed a bit more pressure there to kind of push her around, get her to free up, and then get her to realize, hey, when I soften my body and draw back, this is where you want to be. Allowed for a bigger release for her, and for her to truly understand this is where she wants to be, because then we can go back to being soft and calm and relaxed and quiet. And there's the join up. Now, I wouldn't score that as the highest one that I've seen, because I would have loved for her to commit to it a bit more, a bit quicker, but that just comes down to me personally. But I have nothing against how he handled it, and I do really like how he got her to come back around. And there was no correction, or there was nothing he did within the correction of added pressure that made me go, this should have been done a little bit differently. I think he was just checking out that hack more there to see how it fits her nose. You don't want it too tight, so there's a little bit of droop on the side, so there's a little bit more of that pull I believe he's looking for. That way there's not constant pressure in her face at all times. Makes it a little bit more notable when she feels the slap come out of the cheek pieces or the nose band. I do love how she was willing to stick with him at the end. That's what I mean when I say, like, just watching her overall demeanor of how flighty she can get. If you were to walk in with a lot of loud, crazy energy right away, I think you would have driven this Colt off. I don't think she would have been so willing to, or, yeah, she would have been so willing to try to engage with you. I think she would have just been turned off by the situation and would have become avoidant. This is what I would consider to be mounting and introduction of rider and mounting. Flapping the stirrups, things she'll have to experience. When he goes to get on her, things she'll have to experience when there's a rider on her. Hopefully your legs aren't that loud, but if they are, you will feel pressure and a little bit of flapping and movement on the sides of your body. There he's just engaging the hindquarter with him tapping with his thumb on her rib cage. That'll be preparation for when she feels a leg or a spur on her. This is good to see. Is she sensitive? Is she pissy? Is she the type to kick out of it, get offended, turn around and bite, switch her tail, or does she move off of it pretty well, and is she pretty responsive and respectful of it? Tightening up the cinch. We have 47 minutes left on the clock. We're just about halfway through now. We have a foot in the stirrup. A little tight in the hips, release. Your foot back in the stirrup. Rider up, stepping with his right foot. Get her to step around, got her good disengage. She's walking out a little bit, sticking with it. She doesn't look too tense. Little tension in the neck, nothing crazy. Just gonna hang out up there and keep her disengaging and moving around a little bit. And the stirrup on the other side. Like that she's not reacting. And we've committed to the sit-up. So we fully committed to the mount now, and we are on. Nothing crazy. Getting a good disengage of the hindquarters there. I love how he doesn't have a ton of pressure on the reins or any pressure on the reins at all. He's remaining soft. Not forward energy. I would score that pretty high for the introduction to mounting of rider and mounting. She handled that very well. I like how she's willing to move forward. Little anxiety when he has pressure with the over-under. Makes you kind of look from side to side and get a little tight and move forward in a more rapid, flighty manner, but she softens well. Getting all used to touch all over. Well, that's good. Usually when you go back to reach around for touching what I call the red button for the first time, you'll get horses that'll tuck their tail, jump forward, sometimes they'll buck, or they'll just lock up and stop. It's good to just see she didn't react to that. She stayed pretty calm throughout it all. She stayed very calm throughout it all. She picked up a massage up here. No. I bet she had a good little snort release. A little bit of tapping and clucking. Got a nice trot. Good. Just rubbing her all over. This is a nice quiet fish ride so far. Nice free trot. Willing to continue forward with that energy. And when she does get a little hesitant, it doesn't take much to get her to keep going. And she's not shooting out front or anything. Really like that. Looks like we were going for a canter there. A little ball for practice. Little rub of his stirrup on the rail. You have to change your direction there. Getting the trot again this way. She's kind of looking for a place to turn the rail there. A little less willing to move forward out this way. It's getting a little bit stuck over here by the entrance and exit gap. A little bit of release and tension there. So he's kind of letting her pick her own direction right now. I have no problem with that. I see with these Colts a lot of the time, if you get in there and you start micromanaging them, especially in their first ride, like, oh, you gotta go here and turn here now and all the things and stay soft, but also keep going forward. You really lose forward super quick if you get to rushing on direction right away. So this mount, stay nice and calm through it. Now we're opening our second. So I think it's a really smart move on his part that he's not going in there and trying to control her direction right away. Because as we saw going around to the right, and she's getting a little confused about which direction she wanted to be going, which she's most comfortable with. She lost her forward, so like that's committing to focusing on forward before the steering. Still keep her soft, but focusing more on the forward than anything, which I could appreciate. So now we've exited the round one. We've lost a little bit of forward just because we're kind of looking around at everything. There's a little bit more steering needed for this. But I like that she didn't immediately shoot out, because I've seen some horses, once they leave the round pen, they just kind of tuck their butt and just kind of shoot out right underneath the rider. Got a good, nice forward trot really. She's pretty soft going into that. There isn't much resistance to getting in the trot. Going for the canter. See right there, she felt a little bit of pressure and got tight and didn't want to go forward, so she just tried to change the direction. Again, a bit of resistance getting to this can here. Sticking with it. She's getting a little dull here. I'm confused. That's okay. I'm just gonna keep focusing on sending her forward. I think it was a very smart move on his part to open up the round pin right away. We wanted to get that canner, and she was immediately a bit resistant and tight. It can be hard for these colts in the round pin to feel like they have a place to go to with the canner, because that tighter space and then trying to balance in the canner around those turns, it can be pretty hard for them and intimidating. So then they just choose to kind of get tight and lock up and don't want to move forward. So this is pretty smart to bring out Arena, because even out here she's still struggling with the forward and the canner. And you can see when they get a little bit unsure of forward, they start to kind of look around. And they're not really quite sure of the direction. So we want her to be going forward with purpose, and just not really questioning and trying to change your direction too much on her own. You got a one-stride canter there. There you go. And she kind of breaks out of it right away. She's a bit tense and isn't really sure about the forward. She's not really sure where she wants to be or where she wants to go. So he's allowing her to change her direction there. I like that he's staying patient. Just trying to reassure her. He's staying consistent. I think that's a big part with this, is as riders, when we're not getting the desired reaction, what we're looking for, we sometimes try to change up and be like, okay, and yes, there's a point where you should be able to try new things. I totally agree. But sometimes with these colts in their first rides and these first sessions, the more you change up how you're doing things, you realize, okay, well, that's not working, so now I'm going to try to steer you, or now I'm going to try to do this or that. You can only cause, you sometimes can just only cause more confusion than if you just stick with the tried and true, just forward. Still not managing the direction too much, just saying, hey, continue just tracking the same way around the pen. That's all he's asking for. You got a nice canter out of her. She got tight, but she went into the canter and held it for more than 2 strides, so I appreciate that. He used that forward energy to funnel her into the round pen. I think that was pretty smart on his part. Now we're off. So you got a walk, trot, canter on for both ways. Canter could have been a bit smoother getting into it, but I do appreciate his use of space of the arena and the round pen and making smart decisions of how to help her understand best what he was looking to get out of her. And that's the biggest, like one of the biggest things for me in watching these colt startings. What are you doing to make it as clear as you possibly can, of course, what you're looking for? How smooth are you with it? How smooth are they taking to it? And just, what are you doing to set the best up for success? So we're going and we're pulling the saddle right away. Since she's gone up, she's disengaging. Not gonna. Get that saddle off. The forward motion kind of wavered there when he was working on that camera. And that's not something uncommon with colts when you're going into those faster gates or just when you're in new spaces and just in their first rides in general. But I like how he handled it. He stayed calm and consistent, and it allowed her to figure it out and figure out that she just needed to loosen up and get into that canter. You didn't get bucked off, so no minus points there. No excessively bumping panels, so no minus points there. Right now he's laying down, lowering his energy. She's investigating the saddle and all that good stuff, looking and chewing. I liked how calm and quiet she was there. Saddle pad up. I want to know how much I like this right here. So while he was moving stuff around and stuff like that and getting all his stuff situated, she actually took a step towards him and was very curious about where he was going and what he was doing. I love that she's still staying very attentive to where he is, what he's doing with his body, and she's reacting accordingly with hers. So now his tag is out of the way. He's back on the ground. I love the low head. Just investigating the ground. Very aware where he is. I love that. We are at 33 minutes left. And we got a first ride in. We checked all of our bases. Everything that is on the item of judgling list. He has hit his marks on everything. Obviously minus the use of pen wrangler and crowd engagement, but that's something I can't critique. So right there, she kind of wandered off, got distracted, wasn't engaged with him anymore, so he used his whip and his voice to kind of get her focused up on him again and thinking about him and get her connected back to him. That worked out. She turned around and faced up. She gave a big yawn. Good. I love that. So this is where I'm starting to look at the demeanor of the Colt at the end of the session. Now I know we still have 32 minutes left, but since we have kind of hit all of our checkpoints and done a first ride, this is where I am starting to think we're kind of coming to we are, and it seems as if we're coming to the close of the session. So I'm going to start looking at the demeanor of the Colt. She's licking and chewing, relaxing off my leg, focused on him, ears are moving, head's gotten low. She got those good yawns and some lick and chew, so I love that. I love how he got up there and she was willing to follow him and engage with him. That's really good. Overall, she's a lot more connected than when he walked in. She's got a lot of calmness and relaxation about her. She's super willing to stay focused on him and just enjoy his presence. I love that. And the other reason why I start paying attention to how the horse is looking now is because even though there is 31 minutes left on the clock, when these guys hit all their check marks, they don't have to stay, and even if they don't hit all their check marks, they don't have to stay in the round pen the whole entire time. They don't have to do their session until the end of the time. They just have 90 minutes. If they want to stop at any point and say, I'm done, I'm calling the session, I'm really happy with that, there's nothing more I'd like to do with my Colt in that meantime, they're perfectly allowed to do that. So that's why I really start trying to pay attention to when I see there's a close coming, in the off chance that they don't want to use up their full time, they just want to go, I'm happy with how it is, and call it good there. You got a rehalter now, just giving her a good brush down. Very calm about that, just taking it all in stride. I love that. As a judge, this shows me that you just really do appreciate taking that time to build that connection. And also on top of that, it's just really nice for the horses that if they do really enjoy brushing, it allows them to feel a good release and feels good. It's kind of that good pressure, if you would say, because sometimes with the saddle, it can be a bit overwhelming and it can feel like not so great pressure to them. But if they really didn't enjoy brushing, it's a really good form. It's a really good way to establish that not all pressure is bad pressure, and pressure can actually be very rewarding and very comfortable at times. Put the brush back now. Looks like we're tucking our lead rope into our belt. And check in our bases again. Looks like we're picking up feet once more. Just really soft about that. So now he's going in. He's got her. So now he's taking kind of the fairy stance of hobbling. I don't know if that's the proper way to say it, but he's got that foot kind of hobbling between her two legs, how the fairies would do it, as we're going to trim them out from underneath them and all that good stuff. She is very, very willing to partake in that. No feelings about that. It's good. Picking out the feet again. Once again, I like how he's prepared and got that halter or that lead rope in his belt loop to have her bent towards him a bit. Pulled that foot away a little bit. Oh, no, I think he just sat down. It's kind of hard to tell from this angle. She got a little rocky in that hip there, but stayed really calm about it. So now he's switching that lead rope to the other side of his belt. I do love that he's really prepared. I love that he is being very smart about this stuff and setting himself up for success rather than getting stuck halfway in between and going, oh crap, I have the lead rope on the wrong side of my belt and now it's bumping her nose around too far. Now she's disengaging and that's why she's not picking up her hind foot. So now he's just rubbing on her. Got that hind foot. She rocked over to give it to him, loosen up her weight. And that looked like it might have been a very tactical thing on his part, that when she started to shift her weight over for him and disengage, he took that as an opportunity when she rocked her leg over and was light on it, that he was able to get a quick, easy pickup that was soft. And overall very fluid. Appears she's got a rasp there. Then I put the rope up on her neck. It's really good to see how she able to did some tapping. She's got her foot hobbled between his. Now he's rasping off the top of that foot. Getting a little resistance, a little unsure. He's sticking with her. Good. I really like this. This really gives me a good idea that you're setting your best up for success for when she goes home, or her future after this. How does she handle pressure on her feet that makes noise, sound of rasping? Because this is something that the colt will have to do at some point in their life, always. She's walking off a little bit there. He's just gonna stick with her. She's tried to leave. New sensation, she's been uncomfortable. He got her bent back around, put pressure on her. Some good, soft rubbing pressure. Tapping on that foot. Rasping around it. And he's got it hobbled again between his front legs. Between his legs. Really love how soft she is there. She's not pulling her foot away. It's good. It's right here. Now this can be a little harder for them because the hind feet you can already be uncomfortable with, and then the noise and the feeling of the sensation on the back feet can provide a little bit of resistance. So she's a bit resistant going and giving that foot. She's a bit resistant holding it, continuing to hold it. Getting a little offended. He's sticking with her there. She softens. She bumped his head. We're just gonna stick with it. So he's resorting to putting the lead rope back up just on the neck. Grasping off. Good. I liked that. She stood there that time and really just was willing to sit with it. I would say overall smoothness so far, it's been really smooth. That was the one The one notable thing about the session so far that I would say wasn't the smoothest is when she was really struggling with her left hind foot there and knocked his hat off his head, but she stayed calm through it, didn't panic at the hat being on the ground. Appears to be cleaning up by your teats. Tail switching. Getting her soft up on that leg. He's just going back to his bases, working on that leg again since the resistance there. He's working on pulling forward, which is again something they would need to be able to do for the farrier. Just touching her all over, getting her used to that feeling sensation all over her body. I like that she's pretty willing. She's not offended or kicking out or swishing her tail an ungodly amount. Now we hopped up and we're leaning over her back. Got her legs laid over her. He's touching his toe of his boot on the tail head. It's pretty big. Some horses tend to shoot forward when that happens, but because he touched her on the butt while he was riding her and she didn't shoot off, I was a bit more confident she would do it. But I really like how she's handling this and staying pretty darn calm. Now we're stepping up on her. She's looking around. I like that she's not frozen. I feel like she can't move. It's in her neck. Ears are still moving. Rocking on the mane a little bit. Trying to get her to relax and soften. Really get those endorphins. Releasing. So I'm gonna ask for some movement. Asking for the hind end to disengage. And get the shoulders to move. I love how she opened it there. Took her a minute to figure it out, but she got it. Awesome. So there was a distinct change there where she really just started to free up and loosen up and started just tracking around the round head. He didn't have to keep reminding her to walk forward. That's a different feeling having a rider up there without a saddle. The feel is so much more intense, I would say, just due to our seat bones and stuff like that on them. You can actually, there's a lot of rope horses that actually won't tolerate bareback riding just because of the different direct pressure points that they have. So now we had a pretty slick change in direction there. Toss the rope over the neck. I love that. Shouldn't have any big blowups to that. Got her disengage her hindquarters a little bit, turn around, just walk in, release, not controlling your direction too much, just really focusing on that forward movement. Just touching all over. Big reactions, I love that. I like how she was willing to walk off there with very little pressure. Now he's looking to get her to kind of step around. So when he picked up there, he released when she stepped around with her front end. So I can appreciate that. Good mother. Lead her up, toss over the neck, getting her to soften up. Stepping around there, getting a bit of a turn. Start to maybe a turnaround. He's waiting for her to fully commit to it, I believe. He's there. That was good. I love how willing she is to follow pressure. That was good. That's where he released. That was a pretty good time on his release there. So he's got just under 20 minutes on the clock. So right there, looks like he's asking for a backup, and he got a backward stuff and he released. That's good. Oh, that was nice. Oh, that was a lot nicer. No resistance at all, or any resistance. I love how she's willing to soften her head. That was nice. Good girl. So that's two things to kind of look at as he's kind of doing this. And I'm not looking for her to soften her nose down or anything like that, but it's good to see if they are willing to kind of soften the nose and then move their feet. Oh, that was nice. I like that. So he decided to reach forward there so he could get a little bit more direct pressure straight to her chest so it wasn't tipping her nose one direction more than the other. We got a nice little back up there. Hopped off. Nice calm. And back to the center of the round pen. Nice laying down. So just kind of touching base on the demeanor of the Colt at the end of the session again. Really calm, really relaxed, really willing to work with him and stay engaged with him. This is kind of exactly what I look for Colt at the end of the session. Just overall calm demeanor, soft in the eye, willing, accepting of pressure. Her backup much greatly improved. This is a Colt that tells me she wasn't too overwhelmed at the end of the session or by the end of the session. This is a Colt that told me it wasn't rushed through the process and it took everything in stride and it took all the information pushed at it and really absorbed it to the best of her ability. I have no complaints, very smooth. There's only one point there that I could note that I would have said could have been better at flowing, and that was just when she tried to pull her foot away, her left hind foot away during the rasping, but she wasn't unmanageable, she wasn't crazy. Honestly, her level of resistance was still easier than some of the broke horses I've seen getting their feet handled, so no complaints on my end. It was a really good teachable moment for her. It was really good to see how Isaac handled that teachable moment. This would be a pretty high scoring session for me. I think you did a pretty good job of handling the Colt she is and not blowing her up into something unmanageable. I love that.
All right, 16 minutes on the clock, I'm gonna call it.
16 minutes on the clock, and this is a perfect example of how I said prior. You definitely don't have to use all your time. You call it when your Colt's ready. Not gonna wait for this month to start using it right there. Awesome. Like I said, I'd score that pretty darn high. It's a really good session. I think he used his time very appropriately, very well. And he's very thoughtful and careful in his decisions. And he's very calculated, and I think he did a wonderful job. And I think the Colt came out better than what she went in.